Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Eastern Progress podcast presented by the Eastern Progress. I will be your host today, Ryan. Today, I'll be joined by my correspondent in the field, Taylor Hogsed. And before we get started, I'd like to thank the Eastern Progress for allowing us to do these. This is a very, very fun way for us to express ourselves and get the in the know for what's happening on the campus of Eastern Kentucky University. Without further ado, let's get into it. This week, Eastern Kentucky University will begin to host the first EKU Art Education Alumni Art Show, Art Teachers as Artists. This event lasts from October 1st, 2021 until November 11th of this year. The event is organized by the Art Education Program at EKU School of Art and Design, and they celebrate art teachers in the state of Kentucky that currently practice teaching as well as their own works. The 13 artists will be on display at the EKU Center for the Arts in both the upper and lower lobbies, once again from October 1st to November 11th. The 13 artists showcased include Eastern graduates from 1997, Heather Cooksey, who's currently teaching at Madison Central High School, 2002 grad Christy Saley from Northern Middle School, 2003 grad Miles Johnson from Warner Elementary School, 2006 grad Debbie Eller from Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School, 2009 and 2013 graduate Kim Lee Hamilton from Dirksville Elementary School, 2010 graduate Stacy Goggins from Roswell Dunbar Elementary School, 2010 grad Philip Wiggs from Berea College, 2012 grad Christy Long from Girard County High School, 2014 grad Pamela Kvetikin from Berea County Middle School and High School, 2018 graduate Hannah Johnson from Daniel Boone Elementary, 2018 grad Brittany Fuller from George Rogers Clark High School, 2020 graduate Rebecca James from Parkwood Elementary School, and 2021 grad Josie Owens from Sayre Elementary. Sitting down with the former president of the Kentucky Art Education Association and current professor of art education at the EKU Art and Design School, Dr. Ilana Zakeli, correspondent Taylor Hogsed was able to get the inside scoop about the very first Art Teachers as Artists showcase from the individual who organized it themselves.
What made you want to start this event particularly? I know you said that you've put on two Art Teachers as Artists exhibits prior, but what made you want to do it this year?
I think it's really important to understand that art teachers are also artists. They're also practicing artists. It's something I really stress with my students, the importance of being an artist. And we have a new program, which is we went from a BA to a BFA, which is more of a studio-based degree, which I thought was really important to bring that studio part into the degree. I was told at one point as an undergraduate years ago that you can't be an artist and a teacher, and it's kind of a weird controversy in our field that there's a group of people that say you have to decide which one, and I don't believe that at all. I'm kind of on the other side of that. I think it's important that we practice what we preach, and so I thought it was important. I've been here I think almost 14 years, so I wanted to have all these amazing students who have become colleagues and friends and are working throughout the state, and I think it's important to highlight all the wonderful things that they do. So,
and how did you go about picking which artists you wanted to show in this gallery?
Part of it was a little bit random, but I wanted to have a wide range from all of the years. So there's a couple of artists that were here before I got here, but I know them just through being an art teacher in the state of Kentucky, and I also run the high school art show, which is in the spring, so I've been doing that since I got here, and it's actually over 50 years old, the high school art show. So a lot of these teachers I've worked with also through the high school show, through student teaching, through all kinds of things throughout the state, and I'm the past president of the Kentucky Art Education Association. So it's kind of a nice bringing together of all of these different things, but a lot of, it was a little random. I opened it up a little wider than I did, and we kind of narrowed down the group, and it's a really wonderful group.
And then what would you like visitors, especially students who are coming to see this exhibit, what do you want them to learn from this event? Or take away from this event?
Well, a few things. I think this is a really exciting space in general to have it. This is our first exhibit with a collab with the Art Center, which is incredible to have that experience. So to be able to just see art in different venues throughout campus, I think is important. We're usually in the Giles Gallery, which is a wonderful space, and it's under construction. We're going to get a new gallery, which is wonderful, but I just want them to be able to see the variety of artwork that's being produced by art teachers, some of them who they might have had even throughout the state, which is great.
And then what made you want to make this exhibit last over a month long?
Well, what's nice about the Art Center too is that we have all of these other things happening at the Art Center. So during this time, there'll be people coming for maybe Grant and all of these different concerts and events that happen here, and they'll get to see the art that's part of being here, and it'll kind of mesh with everything that's going on. So I think that's important. And we have an opening, as you know, on Sunday, which there'll be a lot of people here for that, just to celebrate the art. But I think it's also nice to just have it as part of the experience of coming to the Art Center.
Do you have any pieces that you've put in, like that you've created? Are they in the art show?
You know, I put it in our catalog. I put some of my work, but I decided not to put my own work actually in the show. I will have a show after I've had a sabbatical recently. I'll have that show sometime in the next year when the Giles opens back up, which will be great. But I think that I really wanted to concentrate in the end on the student work. So it is a little bit in here, but I think that you know, the former students and art teachers, I really wanted to be their show. So I didn't want to do that.
I get that. And then is there any like specific piece that you would encourage students to check out, or one that's specifically your favorite that another artist did that's in the exhibit?
Oh, that's a hard one. I don't think I can answer that. You're putting me in a bad situation if I answer that.
I understand.
No, just come in, but also to realize that there's artwork down here as well. There's people who come to the black box. There's a lot of stuff happening in the black box, which is right here. So that it is 2 levels, I think is really important to check out both levels, because they have beautiful work on both levels.
Yeah. And then are you thinking about making this a yearly event, or even each semester bringing it back, or what would you like to do with this event in the future?
Yeah, I was talking to Melissa Vandenberg, who's our gallery director. She's our new gallery director. She's fabulous. Really excited that she's doing this, and has been amazing at coordinating this event. And I think it is something we were talking about that we would try to do every few years. I've done it on different levels. About every 5 years now, but I'd like to make it definitely every 2 or 3 year event. I think would be really lovely.
And then are you hoping to expand, maybe bring in more artists in the future, more than just the 13 as of right now?
Yeah, I think we were thinking also of changing it up, and you know, right now it's alumni, which is great, but even maybe having a show for just art teachers, and doing it juried, which would be interesting. I think there's a lot of different directions we could take it, so it'll be interesting to see what happens for the next step. But there was just a lot of excitement, I think, about being a part of the show, so I think it's opened it up for other people to want to participate.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for those were all my questions, so thank you.
Okay, well, I also wanted to say just really quickly that we did get a grant from EKU, a university-funded grant, and we have these amazing catalogs we've given to teachers, and they're going throughout the state and being part of the schools, which is wonderful, and postcards and posters and all kinds of things. So those are available out front as well.
Following this, we stay with correspondent Taylor, as she also had the amazing opportunity to interview one of the artists in the showcase. Taylor sits down with artists from Girard County High School, teacher Mrs. Kristen Long.
Thank you for joining me and being able to do this. I really appreciate it. I know the Progress really appreciates it too. So thank you.
And full disclosure, I'm dressed up sparkly. It's our homecoming week and it's decade day, so I'm dressed in 20s. I did take off the feather, so
it's so
I'm in all flapper attire. I tried to hide as much as possible.
So before we start, could you give like a quick little bio, maybe talk a little bit about yourself, and lead into the first question, just what made you want to be an art teacher?
Okay. My name is Kristen Long, and I am an art teacher at Girard County High School, and I've been teaching in this district for 20 years. And I teach all levels of high school art. I'm the only art teacher they have here, so I do everything from drawing, painting, sculpture, digital. I do it all here. And it's a small rural community, and this is actually where I graduated from. And I went to Georgetown College for my undergrad and got my master's at EKU and graduated in 2012. And so I wanted to become an art teacher because I wanted to give back and give students an opportunity in the arts that more than what I had. I had very basics. I grew up here in Kentucky in Garrett County in the 80s and 90s, and there wasn't a whole lot for art kids to do. You had like an occasional play, there was some art competitions here and there, but if you didn't play sports, there really wasn't anything outside of school for you. And so my husband and I, which are both from Garrett County, and we're both artists, that was kind of our goal. Our passion was to come back to the community that we grew up in and provide arts support and programming for kids so they have something to do other than sports. Sports are great, but it's not everything, you know?
Oh,
If you're like me, you want to draw, you want to create, you want to make things beautiful. So
that's really cool. So what made you want to get involved with this exhibit that EKU is putting on?
So Dr. Zakelli contacted me and said that we were going to have a alumni art show, and this was pre-COVID, and it was just supposed to be a regular alumni art show. So I had a whole portfolio that I was working on at the time, and then COVID hit and we had to postpone the art show. And so it kind of transformed after that, and she came back and contacted us and said, hey, what about your experiences teaching during a pandemic? Because we all had to switch and go virtual, which was totally new. I'm also trying to figure out, how do you teach something that is hands-on in a virtual setting? And so it was, at first I thought, well, I don't have anything to offer to this show, because I was really struggling as a teacher, trying to figure out how to even just teach virtually and get my students engaged. But after the year ended last spring, I was able to go back and reflect on my experiences and go back and reflect and see what my students were able to do. And I came up with these pieces for the art show. So it's kind of a little bit about me and my personal mental well-being, and then also how I navigated teaching in a virtual setting. So
how did you end up doing that, like keeping students engaged online with something like art?
Well, yeah, it's really hard. So when the initial shutdown, we literally went home one day and they were just like, oh, we might be back in 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks later, it was like 2 more weeks. And then they're like, oh, we're not coming back. I switched to choice boards, and I also switched to recycling and upcycling things that you had from home. And so I did choice boards, and I just gave my students options. Like, there might be like 10 different options of things that they could do if they wanted to. And I gave them opportunities to dig around the house and see what trash they could find that they could, make art out of, or like things in the kitchen, things in the toolbox, things like that they could find and help make art. And so that was kind of a fun experimental way to make art. It didn't last very long, but that got us through like the end of school for that first spring part. Yeah. And then I was able to reflect on that over the summer once I realized that we were not going to come back into the classroom. And I put together art kits. So my district was very influential in like giving me the funds to purchase. And so I got pizza boxes. I ordered these big pizza boxes off of Amazon, and I filled the boxes up for all the different supplies that I could send home to my students. So when they came to register, they went home with a pizza box. And so once we got what we called hybrid, we had some students come back, some people stay home, or we were like on an A-B schedule and they were coming back and forth. They would take those pizza boxes with them. Everybody, it was kind of funny because everybody's like, you got pizza in there? No, we've got art. So they just traveled with these pizza boxes, and that was nice because it gave students at home like that maybe not had space or a desk or a place to work. The pizza boxes gave them stability to protect their art and to make art on and keep their supplies in, and then they traveled back and forth with it. So that's what we did last year, and thankfully this year we're back in the classroom. So
yeah, that's really interesting. I would not have thought to get pizza boxes. So what do you want people, specifically students who visit this exhibit, what do you want them to take away from this or learn from this exhibit?
That art is a form of expression, personal expression. It's a way that we communicate and sometimes talk about things that maybe we can't put words to. I know during this pandemic, I had a hard time even knowing day to day what I felt or what it was I wanted to express, but somehow I was able to find through pictures and imagery my story. And so everybody has a story, and art is like a universal language that we can share that story. And sometimes things can be maybe sad or painful, or, you know, like things that we really don't want to put into words, and art is a way to get it out there and kind of open up a dialogue and let people know that, hey, I feel that way too, you know. In my personal art, I kind of went through the frustrations for this particular show, the frustrations of like the world just stopping. Like all of a sudden, I'm a mom of 2 who keeps a full schedule, and all of a sudden, I didn't even know what day it was, you know, because we didn't have practice, we didn't have, you know, church, we didn't have things like that that normally keep a standard of time for us. And then also just the demands that we had as teachers, missing our students, getting new mandates every 2 weeks or every month or something, like in that constant flux of transition. And so I enjoyed making this art just to kind of communicate some of those hard feelings that I had and validate. And now that other people can see it, they're like, oh yeah, I understand. I went through that too, you know? So it's kind of comes full circle, creates a nice little community so that we can share that.
Yeah. So you want to have people be able to connect and.
Yeah. And then for my students, the question was about the students. And just to let students know, because sometimes they think teachers are superhuman, you know, like when they act weird when they see us in the grocery store or, you know, actually living a real life. And I feel like my particular pieces, I discussed my frustrations and like the things that I had like issues with, like having a virtual class and nobody participating, or constantly talking to little dots on the screen and I never saw a student face. So they can see the other side of that and maybe have a little bit of empathy. And if heaven forbid we have to do this again, they might want to turn their camera on.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. It's just about perspective, I guess. You know, me sharing my perspective and the students seeing that we're all human and we all have multiple ways to tell a story. Yeah.
So do you have a favorite piece that you have in this show?
Well, I guess my favorite personal piece is the one entitled Silver Creek. And I guess that's more near and dear to me as personally, and as far as my family goes, communicating kind of what our life was like. So the piece is called Silver Creek after Silver Creek in Berea. We took up going outdoors. We would go play in creeks, we would go ride bikes, we would go on hikes, things like that, because we didn't have to wear a mask, we could social distance, we could just go be a part of nature and have fun. And it was a little bit of normalcy, you know, nature didn't change and we could go continue doing that stuff. And so that one has a special, those were the good memories of the pandemic shutdown. My youngest daughter learned how to ride a bike that day, just fun things like that. We're skipping stones, playing games, just, you kind of forgot that the rest of the world was on lockdown and you just got to enjoy nature. So that one is probably my favorite.
Yeah. And then would you like to see this exhibit return in the future, like possibly make this a yearly exhibit? And would you
yeah, I think it'd be really fun just to have an alumni art show. I would not want to do one about the pandemic again. Hopefully that's in the past. But yeah, I love seeing teachers showing off their artwork because what we do during the day, you know, every day is we're constantly promoting our students, pushing our students and promoting them and getting them in shows. And I think it's fun, and it also pushes me to make art and get to see what my other colleagues get to do with their art and their personal time. And it's good. It's good for our spirit. It's good for our soul to create for ourselves. So I think definitely a yearly or, every 2 years, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely lets you guys get the spotlight for once. That's really interesting to see, and I'm definitely excited to go see it. So would you be interested in participating again in the future if we do?
I would. And I'm one of those that if I know that there's a goal and a deadline in the end, then it pushes me to make more art and take it seriously. I'm more process oriented as an artist, so I enjoy the actual creation more than the outcome. And so every day I'm constantly creating with my students. And so this pushes me a little bit harder and gives me a goal of like, this is actually going to be out there. This needs to hang on a wall. So yeah, I would definitely participate.
With such an exciting event, it is in true inspiration to see an undervalued subject in high school and in life celebrated in such a way. Many have said that art is valued in the eye of the beholder, but giving credit to those that continue to show their passion through what they create and the way they teach is something that should always be applauded. Thank you to the Eastern Progress for allowing this episode to happen, to Taylor Hogsed for her amazing work in the field. Thank you to Dr. Sekeli and Mrs. Kristen Long for their words, as well as the rest of the art department for putting on such an amazing event. I'm Ryan Gumm, and thank you for watching.